The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time, warm up those tires, hit your marks, and let's go racing, boys and girls. Nascar, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here is your host, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
And the gang is all here. Matt and I are in studio. Producer John live on CRN Live on YouTube. He will be, I'm sure, taking part in the chat as he can. Matt and I are going to look back on the life of NASCAR legend Bobby Allison before we then dive into the 2025 things like NASCAR broadcast times. Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that yet. We're going to give your odds, Vegas odds, to winning the Cup title in 2025. Looking ahead to the final weekend for the NHRA this year. Got a future for scheduling in Formula One that's actually going to see a pretty big change, as it turns out. And what's the future of the Long Beach Grand Prix and Indycar? Testing in Formula E. We're going to kind of recap all of that, and let's face it, a whole lot more. That's coming up on this week's edition of the Championship Racing Network that goes green right after this.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
All right, let's get into this here, shall we? Race recap. Let's take a quick look back at last weekend. We already talked about the Truck Series. We did that last Saturday. So let's talk about Saturday's action here. And as the late Jim Valvano once said, the former NC State basketball coach turned ESPN commentator, he once said, "Don't give up. Don't ever give up." Kind of Justin Allgaier's mantra, wasn't it? The number 7 Chevrolet, he didn't win the race, but he didn't need to. All he needed to do was best his 3 championship opponents, and, well, there was another big story out front. The race went into double overtime. On that final lap, Justin Allgaier got passed by Riley Herbst, who rolled on to the win, claiming his 2nd win of 2024, 3rd win of his Xfinity Series career, and to think he doesn't have a ride for next year yet. Created a double celebration of burnouts on the front stretch because finishing 2nd was Justin Allgaier. That gave him his first Xfinity Series title. Wasn't without some doubt, though. His primary car got destroyed in the practice session before the race, so the team got the backup out, and they prepped it. And that meant he had to start last in a 38-car starting field. But his car was good. He was in the top 10 before lap 30, but he got called for a restart violation on lap 101. And when he got that, he had to do a pass-through penalty. And then he was caught speeding doing the pass-through penalty, and that dropped him back to 35th and a lap down. And he remained that lap down until 45 laps to go when a caution got shown to the field, and he got the lap back. And he was just able to methodically move his way to the front of the field. Troubles on the late race restarts for defending champion Cole Custer allowed Allgaier to comfortably finish 2nd and claim his first title. Riley Herbst wins in the final Xfinity Series race for Stewart-Haas Racing. 38-year-old Justin Allgaier finishing 2nd again, claims the title, filling out the top 10. Eric Almirola, Connor Zilisch. Watch out for this kid. Chandler Smith, Jesse Love, Sheldon Creed, Cole Custer, A.J. Allmendinger, and Austin Hill. So your final 4 in order: Allgaier, Custer, Allmendinger, Hill, Chandler Smith 5th, Sheldon Creed 6th, Riley Herbst 7th, Jesse Love, Sam Mayer, and Parker Kligerman round out the top 10 in your final 2024 Xfinity Series standings. Congratulations to Allgaier.
Arguably, probably will be the most popular champion in the last 5 years across all 3 series.
Yeah, I could say, yeah, I would say so. That with the possible exception of Chase Elliott.
I would say it rivals Chase Elliott.
Like I said, possible exception.
Yeah, I would say it rivals it.
Okay. Hey, I can go with that. Cup Series last Sunday came down to the final restart and the finale, but it was not double overtime. Happened with 54 laps to go left in the race on the final restart. 2-time champion Joey Logano saw the green flag seem shot out of a cannon, built up a more than 3-second lead while his 3 title opponents were battling it out behind him. He had to deal with Christopher Bell, who felt that he should have been in the Final Four, but of course, as we detailed, he was eliminated by NASCAR for a major rules violation at Martinsville. His Team Penske teammate Ryan Blaney, also a title contender, battled with a third one, William Byron of Hendrick Motorsports, to get third, and it took him a long time to do it. Finally got around him. Then he had to work on Bell for second. That took longer than Blaney wished. But the thing about it is by the time he got into second, he was able to reel in Logano pretty easily. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, this is going to be an interesting battle here over the final several laps. But he couldn't find a way around Joey Logano. That's the veteran in Joey. Joey claims his 3rd Cup Series title of his career, becomes only the 10th driver to claim at least 3 Cup Series titles in his career. The last guy to do that, Tony Stewart, back in 2011. Your final top 10 of the race was Logano, Blaney, then William Byron, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell faded. Tyler Reddick, the 3rd title contender, could do no better than 6th, trailed by Bubba Wallace, Chase Elliott, Chris Buescher, and Daniel Suarez. Final top 10 in the standings are this: Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Alex Bowman, and Martin Truex Jr. Truex Jr. claims 10th in points for his final full-time Cup Series season. Any surprises for you from this past weekend?
Honestly, no.
I kind of tend to agree.
Not really, no. I'm a little bit surprised that Tyler Reddick didn't do as better as he did.
I was about to say the same thing about Cole Custer on Saturday. The troubles that he had on those final restarts were a little bit surprising.
But I just but overall, I'm going to say no.
Yeah. Again, I said it As soon as Alex Bowman got eliminated and because of the rules violation and Joey Logano was in there, I said, watch out.
Yep.
There's that 22, and he's going to be trouble for everybody else.
Yep.
This weekend, not much on the docket for us here as far as the series we cover because, well, let's face it, just about everybody is now out of their racing season. The NHRA will wrap up their 2024 season for the Mission Foods Drag Racing Series this weekend. It'll be at the In-N-Out Burger NHRA Finals at the In-N-Out Burger Pomona Drag Strip. Noticing a trend there. It's also going to air live. Fox Sports 1 starts 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central Time. The only other series that is still in season that we cover is Formula One. They're off again this weekend before they then kick into the final 3 races of the year for 2024, which will start in Las Vegas. Not this weekend, next weekend. And before we go anywhere here, I want to go ahead and do this. And if you listened to us or watched us on Cross Flags, this is going to be very familiar. But for those of you that haven't, or quite frankly, it really doesn't matter. I would have done it twice anyway, because this is a guy who deserves it.
No.
Last Saturday after we got off the air and in the afternoon, if you were watching or listening to either the Xfinity or the Cup Series finale, you saw and or heard that Alabama Gang founder Bobby Allison passed away last Saturday afternoon. Born Robert Arthur Allison, December 3rd, 1937 in Miami, not in Alabama. We'll get back to that. He got a late start in the racing world. He actually really didn't get behind the wheel of a race car until he was in his senior year of high school, and it was kind of on a misunderstanding, actually. When he asked permission of his mother to go racing, she said yes. She thought it was a one-time thing. Bobby thought that it was pretty much blanket permission to go racing, so that was kind of a battle in the household until she sent him off after he graduated high school to live and learn under her brother-in-law in Wisconsin. Well, her brother-in-law was a salesman. She thought Bobby was going to follow in his footsteps and forget all about racing. Turns out that brother-in-law worked for a company that you might have heard from if you're a NASCAR historian of any kind. Mercury Outboard Motors.
Yep.
Owned by a guy by the name of Carl Kiekhofer. Ring a bell, historians? Bobby would end up working on engines for the race team in his spare time and eventually got transferred to the race team part of the operation on a full-time basis. His time with the company lasted only about 2 months because Allison didn't care for Kiekhofer's management style, but while he was with him, he said he attended about 20 races and added that the team won them all. It only whetted his appetite for racing even more. Bobby Allison moved back to Miami, but knowing his parents disapproved of his racing, he entered a race under the name Bob Sunderman. Here's the problem. He won the race. You think to yourself, he won the race? Why is that a problem? Well, because winning the race caused his picture to get in the newspaper the next morning. And his dad saw it. Realized his son was going to go racing whether or not he wanted him to, so he just looked at his son and said, do it with honor, son. Do it under your own name. So with that permission, he realized things in South Florida were not really as lucrative as he was looking for in the racing industry, so he started calling around the Southeast. He called up Montgomery Motor Speedway. They told him, yeah, come on. There was a race going on, but there was also a race going on the night before at a place called Midfield Speedway in Birmingham. He got top 5 in both races as well as preliminary events, and it was fairly lucrative. Again, we're talking about the 1950s. He won $400. But he realized it would be a good new home base, so he went back to Miami, recruited his brother Donnie and a couple of other friends, including a guy by the name of Red Farmer, to join him in Alabama. They set up base in Hueytown. From there, that trio of drivers would begin to caravan to tracks all around the Southeast, led to the moniker of the Alabama Gang. Other drivers slapped him with it as they would see the trio pull into any given track, one trailing the leader. Bobby would win back-to-back modified special titles 1962 and 1963, moved up to the National Modified Division, won the titles there 64 and 65, but in 65 he also moved into NASCAR's Grand National Division, what we would now call the Cup Series. Claimed his first win in July of 1966 and went on to win the unofficial NASCAR Grand Slam. He won 3 Daytona 500s, the most notable of them the 1988 finish where his son Davey claimed second right behind him. He added 4 Southern 500 wins, 3 wins in what's now the Coca-Cola 600, and 3 wins at Talladega in the Winston 500. Remember, the Brickyard 400 didn't start until 1994. Bobby was also a 7-time Most Popular Driver Award winner. He won it in 1971, 72, and 73, and then again from 1980 through 83. Claimed the 1982 Busch Clash, was the 1980 IROC Series champion, and in 1983 claimed his first and only Cup Series title. But a crash at Pocono in 1988 would change his life. The wreck was so severe that he got transferred to a local hospital where he actually was pronounced dead, but the doctors and nurses did not give up on him. They continued to work on him even after the declaration and brought him back. He rehabbed hard. He was going to try a comeback in 1990, but he had a health setback, so he officially retired in 1990. Upon his retirement, he had the title to his credit, as we noted, 1983 and 84 contested wins. He and his wife Judy got divorced in 1996 after they saw their sons Clifford and Davey pass in 1990 and 1993 respectively. Clifford in a practice crash at Michigan Speedway and Davey in a helicopter crash as he was trying to land at Talladega. But he and his wife Judy would reconcile and remarry in 2000. They remained married until her passing in 2015, moving up to North Carolina during their final years together. Just a few weeks ago, NASCAR revisited that contested win, decided to officially recognize the win at the Myers Brothers 250 held in 1971 at Bowman Gray Stadium. Allison won in a lighter weight Grand American racer, was given the winner's trophy in the check in victory lane, but other drivers that were in the heavier Grand National cars complained, and NASCAR didn't officially recognize it, like I said, until just last month, so that gave Allison 85 official Cup Series wins, puts him fourth all-time by himself, breaking that tie with Darrell Waltrip. He also had 2 Indy 500 starts to his credit, 1973, 1975, had 4 other starts in Indycar, all of those in 1975, had a best finish of 6th for Roger Penske driving in Ontario, California, 1975. Was inducted into the Motorsports Hall of Fame of America in 1992, International Motorsports Hall of Fame in 1993, before inducted into the second NASCAR Hall of Fame class in 2011. Allison began suffering his own health problems in recent months, and his family announced his passing at his Mooresville, North Carolina home 1 week ago today. Bobby Allison, 86 years old. Bobby Allison was one of those guys who I had the pleasure of interviewing on a couple of occasions and have read up a lot on a lot of the stuff that he said. And, of course, we kind of glossed over that famous Daytona 500 from 1979 where Cale and Donnie were battling on that final lap and ended up wrecking each other and coming in just shy of officially going into turn 3 in the infield. Bobby stopped and got out of the car, and it never failed. Every time Bobby would describe that particular situation, he would state it flat out that Cale went beating on his face with my fist. That's how he described it every single time.
Every time I heard it, it was the same thing.
Yeah. Bobby Allison, just absolutely really, really good guy just to be around. Was not one of those guys who was really closed off. He was very open, very willing to talk to you about things. Just a good guy. Red Farmer, very much the same way. Donnie, we had the chance to interview him on this show on a different situation several years ago. All three of them, very, very easy to get along with, very, very open, very good to talk to. Sad to say that we have lost the first of the original Alabama gang, Bobby Allison, at 86 years old. If you've got anything else, by all means.
I mean, I echo what you say, echo everything you say. Every time I've had the opportunity to speak with him or talk to him or carry on any form of conversation with him, you know, easy to talk to, very, very humble individual, you know, and he talked to you like he knew you for years. Exactly.
Yeah. He was more than happy to be able to do it and never really just kind of looked at you sideways or anything. But he was like a lot of people. If you asked a stupid question, he would give you a stupid answer, but he would do it with a smile on his face.
For sure.
All right. When we come back, several subplots, things to talk about from last weekend as we do kind of a wrap up on the 2024 season for the Cup Series. And then we're going to look ahead to 2025 on a number of levels. Things happening at Bowman Gray Stadium as they get that particular place prepared for NASCAR's return. And there's other subplots. School time. Next.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back into the show. Steve West, Matt Nicholson here in studio and on camera, and producer John is producing by a long distance. Pretty cool stuff. He is able to take part by chat, so if you want to say hi to him, go ahead. Go to CRN Live on YouTube, which we appreciate you doing anyway. Plus, you get pictures and stuff like that that goes along with it, which we will be throwing in throughout the course of the show. During championship weekend last weekend in Phoenix here, as we start off with Cup Series news, we had a few subplots happening. One really, really cool one. Joe Gibbs Racing partnering with their longtime sponsor, Interstate Batteries. They gave wounded veteran Sergeant Julian Torres of the Marine Corps a Toyota Sienna minivan with all the necessary upgrades to suit the injured veteran. Torres got injured in Afghanistan in 2010 as part of the 2nd Battalion 6 Marines, known as the Never Quit Battalion. Stepped on an IED, improvised explosive device, which took both of his legs. He's got prosthetic legs now, but needs some assistance, which led to the donation of the new van with the appropriate controls, allowing him to be able to drive, something that Torres called the gift of motion. Very, very cool stuff there. This is what the NASCAR world does. And this is why, truth be told, we love it. We like to hear stories like this. I mean, it's just that plain and simple. After the race last Sunday, several drivers were interviewed in the media center, including Joe Gibbs Racing driver Martin Truex Jr., producer John's favorite driver, ran his final Cup Series race that day. During the interview, he took a question from a non-media member. Turned out to be Joe Gibbs himself. Gibbs asked him to name his favorite team owner, jokingly. Gibbs then complimented Truex for his hard work and leadership at Joe Gibbs Racing over the years. I would imagine Truex will probably be a lot like Eric Almirola was this year. He'll get into a handful of races in the Xfinity Series whenever he feels like it.
Probably so.
On the other hand, Sunday was the final day for Stewart-Haas Racing at the track. Both Tony Stewart and Gene Haas were at the facility. They saw Riley Herbst claim the final win for Stewart-Haas Racing, which happened to be in the Xfinity Series finale. Sunday, not as good for the organization. Noah Gragson with their best result. He finished 12th. Josh Berry was 24th. Chase Briscoe 29th. Ryan Preece had a problem during the race, ended up finishing 37th, 10 laps down. The team, however, did spend a lot of time together before finally packing everything up and rolling out, taking a lot of pictures. Even saw Tony Stewart directing the 14 hauler out of the garage area to send it on its final road trip back east. They also put out the announcement that we're going to share on screen as their official social media, saying in part, quote, "You've cheered with us. Yes, sometimes even booed us. You showed up passionately and proudly, and we felt your presence through highs and lows. It's been the ride of a lifetime to be part of this sport and play a small role in entertaining you all. As we close this final lap, we want to say thank you. Your energy's been felt in each moment and each mile, and we'll carry your support with us always." Stewart-Haas Racing officially finishes with 70 Cup wins in their history, 30 Xfinity Series wins, a Truck Series win, 2 wins in the ARCA Menards West Series, and 103 total. All but one of those wins, an Xfinity Series win, came under the Stewart-Haas Racing name. 81 poles, 54 of them in the Cup Series, 2 titles, Tony's in 2011 and Kevin Harvick's in 2014, not to mention Cole Custer's Xfinity Series title just last year. So 3 titles in all. I hate it. Have I said that before? I'll say it again. I hate it.
Time or two.
But Tony's doing what he feels like is necessary. So that's that. So what do I do as a Tony Stewart fan when it comes to NASCAR? In case you missed this announcement some weeks ago, I said I've decided that since Tony got his start in the Cup Series at Joe Gibbs Racing, and that's where Chase Briscoe, the last driver of the 14, is going, I'm going to go with Chase Briscoe.
Well.
But I won't buy Chase Briscoe 19 stuff. Sorry, Joe. I'll wear my Chase Briscoe 14 stuff very, very proudly, though. All right. Affiliated with Joe Gibbs Racing is 2311, and it was kind of strange. We hadn't gotten any real updates on the lawsuit that has 2311 and Front Row Motorsports on one side and NASCAR on the other until this morning.
Yeah, it was just a little after 8 a.m. Central Time. A statement was released by Jeffrey Kessler on behalf of 2311 and Front Row. And it states, quote, "We are pleased to announce that NASCAR has removed the anti-competitive release requirement in its open agreement, which will now allow 2311 and Front Row to race as open teams in 2025. My clients will continue to appeal to the Fourth Circuit to issue an injunction so that they can run as charter teams, therefore avoiding irreparable harm. Both race teams are pleased that they will continue to be a participant in the sport they love while fighting to make it fair and just for all.
I guess I'm trying to figure out, was there something in the contracts basically that said that they weren't going to be able to do that?
In layman's terms, Bob Pockris, the Captain Bob, breaks it down in a tweet where he quoted it. NASCAR will let 2311 and Front Row sign the open race team agreement and pursue the lawsuit. NASCAR will not enforce the clause in the open agreement that releases NASCAR of certain legal claims. Appeal to preliminary injunction continues for the same conditions to sign the charter agreement.
All right.
So there were clauses in there that basically says, you sign this, we're released from this.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Yeah.
All right. Good luck to him. We'll find out what the next step is here fairly soon. All right, back to the other news here. One thing that's not changing in 2025, 7-time Cup Series champion Jimmy Johnson has said he is set to return to driving in a part-time role for his own Legacy Motor Club team. The team announced on Tuesday of this week, quote, for 2025, we will make sure that we use the number 84 car in the right capacity and in the right way so that it doesn't take anything away from either the 42 or the 43. We'll see how many times I'll go out and drive in the coming weeks. I would imagine probably about the same number. He was in, about 10 or so races this past?
7.
7. I would say probably in that same area, 7 to 10 races.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can think about, some of the big ones. He's not eligible for the Busch Light Clash because, well, let's just face it, he's not eligible for it. Daytona 500, that's an easy one. Coca-Cola 600 because of his love at Charlotte Motor Speedway and the fact that he all but owned it for a long time.
Daytona, Charlotte.
Trying to think of where else he might show up.
Probably Kansas again.
It's a good question. May have to come back to that. We'll find out.
Actually look and see where his starts were this year.
Okay. While you're doing that, other things within Legacy MC, they are changing. They have announced the Veteran Cup Series crew chief Chad Johnston has now been named as the team's manager of racing engineering. Wow. Okay. In his 2 decades,
a mouthful.
Yeah, isn't it? It's not going to be easy to put on a business card either. In his 2 decades of work in NASCAR, he's been a crew chief for 13 of those years, got 7 Cup Series wins, 1 Truck Series wins, 70 top 5s, 140 top 10 finishes for all of his drivers with 11 poles, and he has called the shots for a lot of big names out there. But he's stepping away from crew chief and up to manager of racing engineering. And that's really where he got his start. He was on the engineering side of things before he became a crew chief. So
basically senior crew chief.
Yeah, effectively. All right. What do you got?
I'm going to go to another link right here.
Oh, fun stuff.
Here we go.
Okay.
His starts in 2024 were at...
What are you, Netflix from last night?
24. I don't think we want to go there.
No. We're not a boxing show.
Terrible.
We're not a boxing show. Jake Paul won, by the way.
I don't think we want to go there.
I was trying to remember. I know that he got into the Daytona 500.
Daytona, Kansas, and Charlotte and Phoenix. I know.
Early season Phoenix, right?
No, he ran the last race at Phoenix.
Oh, that's true too. It wasn't a factor by any stretch. That's why I forgot about him.
No, not even close.
No. He would have liked to have been a factor. He was not.
9. Okay. Daytona, Texas, Dover, Kansas, Charlotte, Indy, Vegas, Phoenix.
Okay.
He ran both Kansas races. So Daytona, Texas, Dover, Kansas, Charlotte, Indy, Vegas, Phoenix. Yep.
So 8 races in all.
8 races.
All right. Yeah, I would imagine that's probably going to be right about where he's going to be next year as well. He has to figure out a way to get a handle on this Gen 7 car. I don't think he's got it yet. And I say yet because there's a possibility he might actually get it figured out.
I think he needs to take a trip to Costa Mesa, California to TRD Simulator and run some sim stuff because he's not with it in the Gen 7 car.
Ooh, not at all. All right. John's other favorite driver. I say that sarcastically. Joey Logano. Since he won that third title this week, it's actually been kind of ridiculous, truth be told. A whole lot of people have complained that Semi's title is illegitimate, thinking that he shouldn't have been there just because Alex Bowman got DQ'd after the final race of the round of 12. That allowed Logano into the round of 8, where he won the first race. The team had the time to prepare the 22 car for the title race, and in the end, Ryan Blaney got there as well through the help of that team. He got in by the rules. Some fans, though, are still complaining, saying NASCAR needs to do something about it. So NASCAR has said, okay, we're listening. So they have decided that during this offseason, they're going to take a closer look at the playoff format, see if they can change and or improve the system that they themselves put into place, and figure it out before the Busch Clash by February of next year. NASCAR says they'll review the format. Even if they come up with an idea that'll be big, though, they won't implement that for 2025. It'll just be any small changes that they decide to make, they'll implement those. If any bigger changes would be forthcoming, they say they wouldn't be put in place until the 2026 season, if they think changes are needed at all, because the teams would have to be notified. So would the TV and the radio partners, the tracks, the sponsors, not only of NASCAR, but of the teams too. One NASCAR insider said not to expect any bigger changes, calling them unlikely, but admitted that the review will happen. Okay, do the review. I don't have a problem with that. You should make a review. Just to go and see if there's any way to do it better. But I'll be real honest with you. If you're going to stick with this playoff and the elimination format, which is controversial in and of itself, I get it. But if you're going to stick with this, I'm not so certain that there are a whole lot of changes that can be made to make it better. Now, yes, we have been more than happy on this show, because it's true, to accuse NASCAR of trying to fix stuff that's not broken.
Ooh, that's an understatement.
In this case, you have, and this is obvious, it's not a perfect system because it was created by human beings. There's only one imperfect human being that ever walked the face of the earth, and that was 2024 years ago. And none of them work for NASCAR. So,
Nope.
in all of the stuff that I have heard this week, I heard one potential change that I might throw in there that could alter how we do the playoff system. Because here's the thing, disqualifications are part of the game. From every level of racing, you've dealt with it at whatever local track you've dealt with, all the way up to the top level.
Yep.
We've seen it in every single one of the series that we cover. NHRA, Formula E, Formula One, NASCAR, Indycar, you name it, we've heard of it. Disqualifications happen. You might not like it, but that's the way that it goes. The other way that it goes is the fact that something could happen in a race and cause a problem. It happens. Cut tire, you happen to get caught behind a lap driver that you can't figure out a way to get around, whatever it is. All of those things happen. The one idea that I heard this week, that I might consider using is actually an incentive to put your foot on the floor. And that's to reinstitute the laps led bonus point.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure I would leave it at just 1 point.
Go back to the basic. Go back to the basic part of it. The basics of it. You lead one lap, 1 point. You lead the most laps, I would say instead of going the 5 for leading the most laps like it used to be, just go 3.
Okay. Yeah, I think you need to incentivize that a little bit more.
Something.
But I would say that in order to kind of incentivize it even a little bit more at, for example, this track and Daytona, I would even up that number a little bit more, even if it's just for racing at Daytona and Talladega.
Or pull a page out of the F1 book, go a bonus point for the fastest lap within the playoff contenders.
Maybe. I do like the laps led bit, though.
Yeah.
But that's about the only one that I heard all week long. Everybody else is sitting there talking about flipping it and putting the single race at the very beginning and making it a series of 3 races at the end and then doing the best. Well, here's the thing. Let's just say, for example, that I win the first 2 races here and Matt finishes second right behind me in both of those, and then Matt finishes second in the third race, but I get wrecked out on lap 1 and I finish dead last. Guess what happens there, boys and girls? Matt didn't win a race in those 3 races, but he ends up the champion. Who's more worthy? The guy who won 2 races but happens to have a DNF because he got wrecked out on lap 1?
Which can happen.
Or the guy who finished second for 3 races in a row?
Which can happen in this playoff format because it happened in 2019 with Matt Crafton not winning a race and yet winning the title.
Yeah.
In trucks.
So, again, we understand this is not a perfect system. The playoffs are not a perfect system. Get it. Understand it. If you're looking for perfection, you're looking in the wrong place. It ain't going to happen on this planet.
So now at 8:40, Denny Hamlin is now chiming in on social media with the agreement stuff.
Okay.
And he's busting all of these media people how they're wording it. For clarification's sake, no agreement was reached. They just removed the provision.
Okay.
End quote.
But what does that do in the end? It still allows you to get out there and go do what you're going to do in 2025.
Yep.
Okay. I'm just going to leave the whole rest of the Denny Hamlin thing right there. Not even going to mess with it. When we come back, broadcasting. Fox, NBC, Amazon Prime, TNT, they've announced the race times for 2025. We've got them.
Please take your seats, class.
We'll tell them to you next.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. It's a fuel only, fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back in. Matt and I here about ready to go over what was just released earlier this week for the Truck Series, for the Xfinity Series, and for the Cup Series. They released the broadcast times, television specifically, for these races coming up in 2025. Producer John is going to put them up on YouTube on CRN Live here in just a moment as well. Some things stand out. Mostly the mid to late afternoon start times kind of sticks out to me. But Matt even picked up on this before I did.
There is no, on Cup alone, there is no 1 p.m. Eastern start time nowhere.
No. They're all 2 o'clock or after. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
Every single race. 2025. In the early part of the year and the very late part of the year, you know, when it starts getting dark at 4:30, that could be a problem. And then there's the other one. Remember, 2025 starts the brand new television rights contract, which means that we got the 5 races that are on Amazon Prime, and then we go from there to the 5 races that show up on TNT, right? 14 races before, 14 races after, showing up on Fox to kick off the year and ending the year on NBC. Not so fast, my friend, to borrow the phrase, because despite the amount of money that Fox Sports and NBC Sports have sent to NASCAR to broadcast their races every single year between now and 2031, how many races is the Fox network actually going to air out of 14?
Ladies and gentlemen of the points, let's start this disclaimer first. Of the points paying races, Fox is going to only air 4.
Then we go to the last part of the year to NBC and their 14 races. And again, despite the amount of money that NBC is sending to NASCAR every year for the broadcast rights, how many of those races are going to end up on NBC?
That would be 4.
8 races out of 38. Yes, I'm counting more than just the points races. 8 out of 38 races are going to be on network TV. 8 out of 38. That sucks, boys and girls. And if I'm working for NASCAR in the department of the media rights deal, I'm ticked. I'm livid over this.
TNT's got their 5, so if you want to count them 13 or just 8?
I'm sorry. TNT's not an over-the-air network. TNT is a cable network.
Cable. Okay. Fair. But looking at these start times at the end of the year, out of the last 5 races,
and remember, Talladega moves into the round of 8 this time.
I see one massive red flag.
Okay. I've got a different red flag, but go for it.
This is one red flag. I've got 500 red flags I could throw all over this. Charlotte Roval, 3 p.m. Eastern. Vegas, Sunday afternoon.
Now remember, this is Eastern time, though.
5:30 Eastern.
Yeah. That's going to go into the evening time.
So that's going to be a 3:30 Vegas start.
Talladega,
2 p.m. Eastern.
Trying to remember when the clocks change. I think clocks change after that.
It's going to be close.
It's going to be real close.
It fluctuates, but it's going to be close.
Yeah, that's going to be close.
But even before the time changes, that darkness still creeps up. I'm calling my shot now. That race will not finish the distance.
Martinsville, they've got lights. That's no problem. Phoenix, obviously, they got lights. No problem.
Roval technically has got lights, too.
Yeah. Let me bring your attention here to all the way back at the beginning.
This is just a couple.
Yeah, this is just Cup. We'll get back to Xfinity and trucks later. Put your attention all the way back over. If you're looking at CRN Live on YouTube, go all the way back to the far left at the very top. Clash at Bowman Gray. Remind us all what state Bowman Gray Stadium is in.
Ladies and gentlemen, that would be North Carolina.
Sunday, February 2nd. Okay, that's about right. That's in between. The week before is the AFC and NFC championship games. We'll figure out the two teams that'll go to the Super Bowl, right? They got that off weekend. The next weekend is the Super Bowl. It's in the perfect spot. Sunday, February 2nd, 8 p.m. Eastern time. You planning on going to Bowman Gray Stadium in early February in North Carolina? You better be bringing a coat, boys and girls, because it's going to get downright chilly.
Yeah, it may look like Lambeau South. Yeah, keyword, it may, because we don't know how the weather does in the South.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
North Carolina's fairly prone to getting some snow at that time of the year. But either way, even if it ain't snowing, it's going to be chilly. It's going to be chilly. All right. Let's see. One more look back, by the way, since we're talking TV. Fox and NBC Sports both report viewership for the Cup Series ticked up over 2023. From Fox to Fox Sports 1 and then to NBC and USA, the Cup Series, despite some rain delays, moved up 1% in viewership over 2023. Not big, but hey, it's a gain. To 2.85 million people per race. The 10 races in the playoffs up 6%, showing 2.33 million per race on average. And remember, that's fighting against the king of all sports here in the United States of America. They had to battle the National Football League for viewers, so not bad. Talked about that lead race just a second ago at Bowman Gray. It means we have upgrades that need to be done at the famous track, and that has begun. Things like the installation of safer barrier, and yep, they needed a new lighting system. They are bringing in what they're calling a MUSCO, M-U-S-C-O, MUSCO LED lighting system. That means they can change colors as well as be able to do all the different lights at a bright white. I don't know whether that's that big of a deal, but hey, whatever. Again, 8 p.m. start Eastern time just absolutely drives me batty.
Yeah.
And then there's our guys. And again, for full disclosure, in case you have missed it, we are, Matt and I, members of the National Motorsports Press Association. And it is the MPA that does the Most Popular Driver NASCAR Awards. The Cup Series Most Popular Driver down to 5. The top 5 vote getters are in alphabetical order: Ryan Blaney, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, and Martin Truex Jr. Again, voting is going on right now. It'll go on until midnight Eastern time, November 21st. So just a few more days for you to be able to get your votes in. Chase Elliott has been the guy who's won it ever since Dale Earnhardt Jr. retired. I don't really see anybody here going to knock him off.
Nope.
If, and this is a huge capitalized, italicized, bolded, and italic if, there is going to be one person who will upset that. It might be Martin Truex Jr. only because it's his final year. But I'm not sure I see it happening.
Nope. It's almost, you hate to say it, it's almost impossible to happen.
Yeah, because here's the one thing that we know. The fans of Bill Elliott did it back then, and the fans of Chase Elliott are doing it now. And here's the thing. They're doing it within the rules.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not decrying that. They're playing within the rules. Yeah. But you can stuff the ballot box, and nobody stuffs the ballot box better than Elliott fans.
Sir, you have a point there. You have a point.
All right. Yeah. Hey, we haven't even handed out the awards officially yet. That comes this Friday when we will learn officially who the Most Popular Driver Award winners are. But Las Vegas has already come out with the odds for who's going to hoist the Cup Series trophy in 2025. Longest odds? No surprise here. It falls to Ty Dillon. Ty Dillon comes in at 500 to 1.
Needs to be more like 500,000 to 1. Jeez.
The return of Cole Custer to the Cup Series and the newly single Haas factory team, they put him at 250 to 1. He's tied with Justin Haley, who's getting his first full year at Spire. AJ Allmendinger's return to Cowlick's Cup Series arm nets him 200 to 1 odds. Josh Berry moves over to Wood Brothers from Stuart Haas. He sits at 170 to 1. Michael McDowell moves from front row to Spire. He's also at 170 to 1. Austin Dillon, despite the fact that he's the boat anchor for Richard Childress Racing, he sits at 150 to 1. sure I agree with those odds either.
He's more like a 200 or more to 1 for me.
Mm-hmm. Think about this. They have Austin Dillon at the same odds that they have new to front row motorsports driver Noah Gragson and Carson Hocevar, the 2024 Rookie of the Year for the Cup Series.
Hocevar's too high.
150 to 1 too high? What would you put it at?
I would put him more at around 100.
100 to 1?
Yep,
okay.
around 100.
Those who do come in at odds better than 100 to 1, you got Bubba Wallace at 65 to 1, tied with Shane Van Gisbergen.
That's probably maybe a little too low.
Optimistic for SVG?
Extremely.
Okay. Chris Buescher, 40 to 1?
Fair.
Okay. Alex Bowman, 35 to 1.
Fair.
Chastain, 30 to 1.
Too high.
Too high. Okay. Brad Keselowski, 28 to 1.
Too high.
Okay. Ty Gibbs and Kyle Busch tied at 22 to 1.
Gibbs, way too low. Busch, too high.
Because of the boat anchor.
Yep.
Chase Briscoe moving to Joe Gibbs Racing. Vegas gives him odds set at 18 to 1.
About right.
Okay. Chase Elliott, 11 to 1.
About right.
Tyler Reddick comes in at 17 to 2, or to break it down, 8.5 to 1.
I'm going to say that's a little too high.
He's tied with Joey Logano.
I would say Reddick's too high. Logano's
in an odd numbered year.
He's about right. Yeah.
I mean, I hate to keep throwing out that odd versus even numbered year, but so far it works. Yep. There's a reason why we keep calling it that.
Yeah.
Denny Hamlin, 7.5 to 1.
About right.
Ryan Blaney, 6.5 to 1.
About right.
William Byron, 6 to 1.
I'm gonna say 6 to 1, a little high.
Okay. And the top ones, according to them right now, Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson tied at the top 5.5 to 1 odds to win the title for 2025.
Y'all are gonna call me crazy, but both of them are high at 5 to 1.
Okay.
I would go somewhere 3 to 1, probably.
Gotcha. Two-time Cup Series champion Kyle Busch set to spread his racing wings a little bit. He's announced that in partnership with Flow Sports, he's going to make his Chili Bowl Nationals debut. That takes place, by the way, next January 13th through the 18th out in Oklahoma. Busch will enter a field that likely will top 300 drivers in total, trying to win the Super Bowl of midget racing. Will follow in the footsteps of fellow Cup Series drivers like Tony Stewart, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Chase Briscoe, and let's face it, many others in running this. He noted that he'll get his feet wet, or at least a little bit more familiar with midget racing, by joining his son Brexton when they compete in the Tulsa Shootout, which will take place from New Year's Eve through January the 4th. All the events will be streamed exclusively on Flow Racing, which you can get on your computer and on your mobile devices. You can get it on your Apple or your Android-powered mobile device if you so choose. Now we know why he did the partnership. Before we go to break, let's go ahead and talk about the Xfinity Series, since there's not a whole lot to talk about here. Xfinity Series most popular driver vote top getters, the top 5 here. This is going to be an interesting one. Because, again, the last couple of years, Justin Allgaier's won it. And, yes, he's in the finals once again. In alphabetical order, it is Justin Allgaier, A.J. Allmendinger. I say it'll be interesting because Shane Van Gisbergen's up there. That could be a bit of an upset.
I could see that upset happening.
I could too. Parker Kligerman and Jesse Love are in there as well. Jesse Love, I believe, has won the Rookie of the Year for the Xfinity Series.
Yes.
Parker Kligerman is wrapping up his final year of full-time racing. Voting, again, ends at the same time as the Cup Series does, midnight Eastern time this Thursday. I have to admit, I wouldn't be terrifically shocked if SVG walked away with this.
Same here.
And that's no disrespect to Justin Allgaier. NASCAR has not been to Rockingham Speedway in over a decade, but next year the famed track is back on the NASCAR schedule. So in preparation, just like they did when they returned to North Wilkesboro, NASCAR and Goodyear performed a tire test there. They used 3 Xfinity Series drivers, 1 Chevrolet, 1 Ford, 1 Toyota. They are Justin Allgaier for Chevrolet, Sheldon Creed for Ford. Remember, he's going to Haas Factory next year. And Brandon Jones in the Toyota.
There was an ARCA car on the grounds, too.
There you go. So
Jamie McMurray was testing that car.
They didn't give any results. They didn't say exactly what all happened, but yeah, they're out there double checking to make sure everything will go good. And we gave you a look at the Cup Series schedule as well. We'll give you a quick look here at the Xfinity Series schedule.
There's some on here. Can we save this for after the break? This one is the
You wanna
one
save
that
it?
I'm scratching my head on.
Okay, you want to save it? Here's the good news. All the races show up on CW. We'll figure out what Matt has got his eyebrows raised about here in just a minute. It should be fun. We got to take that break, though, and hit the cross flag section of this particular broadcast. That's right. We've hit the halfway mark of the show. We'll be back with hour 2 coming up here in just a couple of moments. Still got a lot of stuff to get to. Truck Series, F1, Indycar, and Formula E, and NHRA. Can we do it before the checkered flag hits? Stick around and find out.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. Great America. Four tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back in. As promised, we are going to come back with the look at the Xfinity Series broadcast schedule. It is interesting. Chi-Town Mark on CRN Live on YouTube did notice this, that those attending those live races still have to travel. And they don't seem like they're really taking that into account in a lot of ways.
Ever have.
So, just something to keep in mind. All right, Xfinity Series broadcast schedule. Again, all races do end up on the CW network. And yes, everybody in this country has access to an over-the-air CW network channel. Whether or not it comes in clearly or not, that's another story. But at least we know where all of these are going to end up, as opposed to, 4 races on Fox and the other 10 on Fox Sports 1. Whatever. All right, what sticks out to you, sir?
I'm going to go down the list right here and just call it like this. Lights, lights, no lights. Lights, 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 lights. Lights, lights, no lights.
Talladega.
No lights. Rockingham, Talladega.
Oh, that's true.
Lights,
Do you
lights.
think Texas will need lights?
No. Lights. But let's back up here. Why on the God's green earth are we so consistent with trying to start a race at Talladega at 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
I have no idea. Why are we starting a race at Indianapolis at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time?
That's the dead middle of the summer in the Midwest. It will get dark later there. Okay,
I get that, but
I will give that flag right there.
I don't know.
Okay.
That's killing me.
Chicago street race, 4:30 Eastern.
Yeah. You have run across the same problem both years that we've been there.
And now we're going to have this thing to where if this race is not completed by, and I'm using this number because this is the most recent number used. If this race is not completed by 6:30, whatever lap we're on at when the clock strikes 6:30, we're going to go one more lap, and that's going to be the final. We're going to be the final lap will be the next lap taken.
Mm-hmm.
October the 18th, Talladega. 4 p.m. Eastern. Why?
Don't know.
Why? You have one race that day.
Yeah. When we come up to the Truck Series schedule, you'll understand why we're questioning this even more.
One race that day. Why?
Look at Portland. 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. I get it. It's a West Coast race, but still.
7:30 in August. 7:30, 6. Portland, that'll be a 4:30 Pacific time start.
That's a road course, folks. It ain't got lights on it that I know of.
No, it don't. It is. All the other tracks have lights, so this is not, with the exception of Dover, but we got sun in the middle of summer. Really can't factor that one in.
Mm-hmm.
Sonoma, 4:30 Eastern, 3:30, 2:30, 1:30. Okay, that one's fine. Chicago, Talladega, Portland.
Yeah.
Why are we starting them so stinking late?
Don't know.
Mexico City's not starting until 3:30 Central.
That's going to be toasty.
And that's going to be roasted, buddy.
To the Truck Series, CBS Sports reporting Lane Riggs, driver for Front Row Motorsports, is in the Craftsman Truck Series, is set to have shoulder surgery this offseason, resulting from an issue at the Milwaukee Mile earlier this year where he dislocated his shoulder. Celebrating.
Hey, yeah.
We talked about that back then. After it happened, Riggs said it wasn't the first time he had dislocated his shoulder. Details of the surgery not given. The reporter, Stephen Taranto, said that the same doctor who did Denny Hamlin's surgery this past offseason is going to be the same doctor that Riggs will use. He should be back in time for the beginning of the year. Returning in 2025 to Tricon Garage in the number 11 Toyota Tundra entry is Corey Heim. I find this an interesting move. I would have thought he would at least have moved up to the Xfinity Series. The title contender's been a big success in the Truck Series, starting at Kyle Busch Motorsports back in 2021, garnered his first win for that team at Atlanta in 2022. When KBM shut down after 2022, moved to Tricon. 3 wins in 2023, was part of the championship 4, but finished 3rd in the final standings. This year was better, 6 wins, while also making selected starts in Xfinity and the Cup Series teams for teams like Sam Hunt Racing, Legacy Motor Club, and 2311. So the big question might be, why is he still in the Truck Series after all that success? David Wilson, the head of Toyota Racing Development, for about another month before he officially retires, said on Sirius XM satellite radio that this is effectively because there's no room at this time in either Xfinity or Cup competition.
That could very well be the most logical statement we've ever heard, because there's no room without kicking somebody out their seat.
Mm-hmm. And I guess he's
None.
solid in the Toyota camp.
I honestly feel like that he's getting groomed and getting put into position to be the predecessor for Denny Hamlin when he hangs it up.
Successor,
excuse me. Predecessor. Okay. I'm out of it today. But you get my point.
I do. Brackley War Racing appears to be trying to make a major splash in the Truck Series, and as such, they're moving into NASCAR's backyard. Currently, the entirety of their team is headquartered in Nashville. But the team, the race side of things anyway, is packing up and moving east to Statesville, North Carolina, into the GMS fabrication building. This does a few things for them. First, consolidates their working relationship with the GMS organization. Secondly, puts them closer to the GM Technical Center located in Charlotte, where they will get more help from Chevrolet. While the truck and the race shop will be based out of Statesville, the operations center for the War Shocks portion of the team will remain in Nashville, Tennessee. The team feels that with the change of drivers to Dawson Sutton, son of Curtis Sutton, founder of War Shocks, will move in, and the move into NASCAR's heartland will help the team as they move forward and attempt to move into at least race winning, if not title contention. We did see an improvement from Ty Dillon to Dawson Sutton.
A gradual one, yes.
But it was an improvement.
Yes, something's better than nothing with that case.
That's true. So we'll have to see whether or not this does what they're hoping that it will do. Back to the television schedule situation here.
Here's the one that makes me want to beat my head through the wall.
All the races for the Truck Series will be on Fox Sports 1, save for 3. None of which, let me repeat that, none of which are playoff races. The early season race at Homestead, Miami will go to Fox. The race at Michigan will go to Fox. And the first top-level NASCAR-sanctioned event at Lime Rock Park in Connecticut will be on Fox. So that's in June, but then again, it's Connecticut. I'm not worried about that. Michigan? Is Michigan such an enticing Truck Series race that we have to put that on the main network?
No.
Homestead,
No.
Miami?
No.
I don't mind the Truck Series racing at Homestead, Miami. That's fine. You want to put it on there? Go ahead. Why? Tell me why. Right now, tell me why that we can't put the Return to Rockingham on Fox. Why is that not on Fox? Why isn't North Wilkesboro on Fox? Why isn't, if none of the other playoff races show up, why are we not putting the Talladega race on there? Oh, that's right, because they've decided that we're going to run the Truck Series race on Friday afternoon
at 2:30 Central. If I am Brian Crichton, I am screaming at the top of my lungs. Why are we running my race on a Friday at 2:30 in the afternoon when you are virtually going to kill your crowd? You're virtually going to kill your crowd when you were running an extremely successful doubleheader for several years.
Oh, yeah.
Extremely successful doubleheader for several years.
I don't have a problem with on-track action on Friday. Practices and qualifying, knock it out. But yeah, I'm putting the Truck Series race on Saturday, earliest 11 a.m. Central Time.
But no, we've got to move it to Friday afternoon at 2:30 just because so we can air some lackluster, run-of-the-mill, lower-tier Big Ten game on FS1 when you've got the main level of Fox Network carrying the Big Ten on Big 10 or Big 12 on Saturday morning. Okay, but here's the real head-scratcher right here, Fox, and I hope somebody is listening. I'm calling you out, Eric Shanks, lead guy for Fox Sports. Can you explain to me why the Craftsman Truck Series is on FS1, but we're putting the flipping ARCA Menards Series on Fox?
Yeah.
Fox.
The main network.
But we're running ARCA on Fox, but trucks on FS1.
I don't know. I don't know who's in charge of programming, and I don't know what the communication is between NASCAR and these networks. but it needs to be better.
Unbelievable.
Needs to be better. As for the most popular driver award in the Craftsman Truck Series, top 5 vote getters in alphabetical order are listed as follows: Rajah Caruth, Christian Eckes, Grant Enfinger, Corey Heim, and your title winner, Ty Majeski.
That's going to be probably, I'm going to say you flip a quarter. Oh, boy. I'm going to say you flip the quarter between Grant and Ty.
Eliminating Corey Heim, the driver with the most wins.
Corey's
I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah. Corey's not popular with a large wing of people.
Okay. All right. And I'll agree with you with this, and I haven't seen enough of Ty Majeski. I've seen him. He's very, very open on camera. Grant Enfinger is easy to get along with. I can see that. We'll see. Winners will be announced once again. NASCAR award ceremony this coming Friday. Voting ends Thursday night, midnight Eastern time. All right. Let's switch our attention here. Let's move over to the Formula One series. And next weekend, when they begin their final 3-race run of the year to end the year, the title race could actually be all said and done. Yep, there is a mathematical chance that after the Las Vegas Grand Prix, it could mark Max Verstappen's 4th title in a row. If he wins the race at Las Vegas, he'll accumulate enough points to lock the title down. To continue the points race in the Middle East for the final 2 races, Lando Norris needs to beat Max Verstappen, garnering at least 3 more points in the process. So in other words, if he wins the race, he's good. But if they're starting to get down into the second half of the top 5, he's got to be 3 positions ahead of him, really, to make it work. We'll find out. They're also working on cutting a deal over the last couple of months. It now seems finalized. Alpine has said that they will begin using engines from Mercedes starting in the 2026 season. So 2025 is now the final year of the in-house engine department, which means all those workers, 100 plus of them, now know that they are about to be out of a job.
Yep.
How much do they really care about what they're going to be doing in this last year?
Probably not.
I mean, what are you going to do? Fire me? Already on the chopping block. Thank you.
Yeah.
Should be interesting.
Yeah.
Under the deal, the entire powertrain for the Alpine racers will come from Mercedes. We're talking power units, gearboxes. The deal from 2026 runs through the 2030 season. Despite ending the in-house engine program, the parent company of Alpine, Renault, insists they still have no plans to sell the race team off. They insist that they're cutting the engine department will save them money in the long term to be able to make sure that they keep the race team in-house. Okay, if you say so.
Yeah, that's about all you can say.
While Alpine has locked down their immediate future, Aston Martin is set to change things up at the top. They recently announced the hire of former Red Bull managing technical partner Adrian Newey. We talked about that on the show a few weeks ago. With Newey's hire, he becomes Aston Martin's technical director. Their current one, who worked under Newey at Red Bull, Dan Fallows, has decided he will step away from that role, but he is going to remain with Aston Martin's race operations in a role not yet determined. Either way, he apparently has decided he does not want to work under Adrian Newey again.
Good one.
Okay. Red Bull driver Sergio Perez has had a tough season, but insists he'll be back with the team in 2025. Even said he's gotten calls to change teams. He talked with GQ magazine this past week, and the article, I think, is out now, you know, if you get that sort of magazine. Perez said, quote, "I had an opportunity, 2 opportunities to change teams. When I looked at it, though, I thought, I really love the challenge that I have at Red Bull. It's a massive challenge being Max's teammate. It's a challenge that basically trains you for all of it. So I said I want to spend the last part of my career at the top, at the very top, where the pressure is, and it's full on." Okay, well, that's Sergio Perez. The upper brass might have a different thought. Team principal Christian Horner has not been happy. He's watched Perez slip from 8th in the standings here this year as we head into the final 3 races. And it's led to rumors that Perez, despite signing a contract extension that runs through 2025, may be gone. And do remember this is Red Bull. Yeah, their history is good when it comes to winning races and winning titles. But their history also shows that the length of a contract means exactly squat in the grand scheme of things. So we'll see. He may find himself unwittingly out on his butt. Over at Ferrari, the Scuderia is parting ways with Carlos Sainz at the end of 2024. He's set to move to Williams. We've talked about that during all the silly season news. But it should be noted that his contract has him with Ferrari technically until the new year dawns. That's right, his contract runs through December 31st of this year. Despite that, Ferrari has said they're going to let him move to his new team, Williams, for the postseason test that will take place after the season finale at Abu Dhabi. For the record, Lewis Hamilton's contract with Mercedes is the exact same clause, keeping him with Mercedes through December 31st. No word yet on whether Hamilton is going to be allowed to move to Ferrari for that test, like Ferrari is letting Carlos Sainz move. That's up to Mercedes. I would think the Mercedes would be more than willing to let him do it because this gives them the chance to go ahead and test their new lineup for 2025 too. But
True.
I'm just over here trying to make sense.
Yeah, we know how old Toto can be.
Monaco Grand Prix going to be around for several more years. One significant change. Its race date. I'm not sure I like this. With the new contract that they've signed with the city-state, Formula One's race will run through at least 2031, but the race now moves off the last weekend of the month of May and becomes a race in the first weekend of the month of June. Why? Why break up what's become titled the greatest day in motorsports on the Sunday of what we here in the United States call Memorial Day weekend? We could begin Sunday's race with, we could watch 3 crown jewel races technically on a Sunday. We could watch the Monaco Grand Prix to kick off our day and go from the Formula One race over to the Indy 500. And let's face it, that is the crown jewel for Indycar. And then we would wrap up the evening at the Coca-Cola 600 for NASCAR. But no more. I'm not really sure why.
I don't know.
Formula One states that they don't want to bump into the beginning of the Indy 500 because any delays in the Monaco Grand Prix would definitely bump into it. So they don't want to do that, despite previously not putting IndyCar really on anywhere near the same level as Formula One. Now all of a sudden they're worried about it?
I don't understand people's train of thoughts.
I'm not sure I do
anymore.
either. F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali said, quote, "This agreement signals a new era of partnership and innovation between Formula One and Monaco and will allow us to create an optimized calendar which reduces pressure on logistics." So here may be
They learn how to read a globe.
one of the reasons why. Because you and I have said this. At this particular point in time of the year, it makes a whole lot of sense. They've got 4 races in the Western Hemisphere, and they're all clustered together. You go to COTA, you go to Mexico City, you go to Brazil, you go to Vegas. Before that, you're in Europe. After that, you go to the Middle East, and you wrap up the year. But you go earlier on in the year, and they have 2 other treks to North America, right?
Yeah.
Miami and the Canadian Grand Prix.
Yep.
For 2024, they came to Miami, headed to Europe for races at Imola in Italy, and then Monaco before coming back to coming back to North America for Canada, and then going back to Europe for a slate of races in the August break. We've questioned that for a long time. Now we've got to figure out the situation of, do we, as we have said, we don't really want to interfere with the Indy 500. So are we scheduling in the future beyond 2025, since that schedule's already out? So for 2026 and beyond, are we now suddenly actually looking at the schedule and going, maybe we just don't race on Memorial Day weekend at all? Because I doubt seriously anybody that is near Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, and I guarantee you the fine folks that are in the neighborhood around Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, they don't want to hear F1 engines cranking up in the early morning so that they can get the race in before we go racing in the Indy 500.
No.
So now they've got to figure out a way to work in that weekend off.
Yeah. I don't know.
You broke up the greatest day of racing, the greatest day in motorsports. What the heck are you thinking? You could have done this in many other ways. You could have put Canada and Miami together in so many other ways and still had Monaco on that weekend.
Yeah, you could have.
My gosh, can we stop fixing things that aren't broken?
Seems to be a trend here.
Yeah. It's catching. And it shouldn't. Stop it! Will ya? Stop it!
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
Non-attorney.
Back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Matt Nicholson, Steve West here with you. Hour number 2 here. Got about a little more than 30 minutes left in the show, and I got to admit, I would have thought that they already had one of these. The FIA has approved a specific driver cooling unit for drivers beginning in 2025. All this is the result of the aftermath of the 2023 Qatar Grand Prix, where several drivers suffered from apparent heat exhaustion. Earlier this year, the FIA started working with the teams on a solution that would improve the ventilation of the cars and the cooling of the drivers in extreme race conditions. A specific unit has not yet been approved, but the parameters initially included something of a simple form of an AC unit installed on the race cars that would allow fresh air to get cooled before going through tubes in the driver's clothing under their fire suit. Now the FIA, F1, and the teams are working on an even more simplified system that might be able to be worked without installing an AC system on the race cars. The system wouldn't be full-time either. It would only be put into use when FIA officials mandated it based upon weather conditions. Do they not already have some form of a cooling apparatus that they can wear under the fire suits?
F1, I don't think allows. Let's use that word. I don't think they allow the cool shirts.
Okay.
Which the cool shirt is, you just wear a shirt that's got like tubes on it to where it circulates water through it. cool water through it that keeps you cool in your fire suit, and it plugs into a system in your car, this transfer system in the car. But I don't see where you could put a cooling system on an F1 car.
That's the question.
I don't see where you could do that.
See what they come up with. Former Formula One race director Niels Wittich is about to step down from that role officially at the end of the season, but reports have him pretty much already gone from the job. Rui Marquez takes on the job for the final 3 races of the year. Wittich took over the job for the 2022 season after the 2021 season finale controversy cost Michael Massey that job. You might remember us talking about that deal between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen that allowed Verstappen to claim the title. Now, Wittich initially split the job with Eduardo Freitas, but he was given the full job full-time for 2023. Marquez has come up through the ranks. He's been a track marshal, a scrutineer, a national and international race steward, a deputy race director, and a race director of some lower series, specifically Formula 3, and then stepped up to Formula 2. Wittich has not said why he is stepping down from the role or what role he might be moving on to go to, but he gone. See.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been nothing but controversy really going all the way back to Michael Massey.
That is an understatement.
We have, since we picked up on F1 as a series that we cover on a regular basis, talked about, and on our YouTube version of the show, shown you the new paint schemes, or liveries, as they call them, for each team each and every year.
Liveries.
Yep. They generally begin to trickle out in early February, and by the time we get done with the month, we have probably seen or heard about all 10. Not in 2025. Formula One released a statement Tuesday of this week, said that there's going to be one single day all-team livery reveal for the 2025 looks, and it will take place at London's O2 Arena. It will be open to the public. Tickets will cost between the equivalent of $74 and $144 in U.S. The date will be Tuesday, February the 18th.
That's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse. And it's not a bad deal. If you're a big-time Formula One fan, you get the chance to see them all at one shot, take pictures, have a good time, maybe even meet the drivers. Maybe. Because this has drawn mixed interest and reaction from the drivers. Younger drivers are excited about it. Some of the veterans, notably 3-time and defending champion Max Verstappen, who's all about ready to take his ball and go home anyway, and has been feuding with the FIA over swearing in official press conferences, said this, quote, "I hope I'm sick that day." He called it. I wonder if there's a penalty for missing out on this.
Size me up for a Red Bull suit. I'll go stand in for him.
I'm just saying that this is the possibility that we may end up getting even worse in the feud between now and then. That's
Jeez.
all.
Never in my life.
You know, if you always thought that Formula One was missing something, like the official chocolate bar of Formula One, well, you'll be able to sleep better now.
Give me a break.
They named Kit Kat the series official chocolate bar. I know I feel better about it. The naming comes as both organizations are set to celebrate their anniversaries. Kit Kat is celebrating 90 years. I didn't realize it was that old. Formula One, their 75th in 2025. Fans can expect signage, plenty of consumer interaction, promotional prizes, several other offerings at all the races throughout the 2025 season. Kit Kat, the official chocolate bar of Formula One.
Now I'm just waiting for the racing somewhere in Europe to be called the 2024 Kit Kat Grand Prix de Monaco or whatever.
Ooh, if only they could become the Kit Kat Monaco Grand Prix, right?
Oh, that would be crazy.
Kit Kat would be jumping for joy. Greg Maffei, the CEO of Liberty Media. They, of course, are the commercial rights holders of Formula One. Maffei has held the company since they bought into the series way back in 2017. But he's set to relinquish that role when his contract expires at the end of the year. No permanent replacement has been named. The company has said that the company's chairman emeritus, John Malone, is going to take on the role of interim CEO. Malone's 83. I would expect that hunt probably will be expedited because Maffei is only 64 now. He said, quote, "While it's never easy to leave an organization as dynamic as Liberty, I'm confident that this is the right time." Okay. It is interesting timing because, you know, you got the U.S. Department of Justice investigation. I don't know whether that's part of the decision or not, but it is there. It makes it interesting timing. The company has said that they are very open to new teams joining, despite the denial of Andretti Global trying to become part of Formula One, but not being allowed to join in the reindeer games. Since Liberty Media took over in 2017, though, the popularity of the series has skyrocketed, at least in part to their willingness of the Netflix series to do the Netflix series F1 Drive to Survive, which, again, spearheaded in part by Liberty Media, seeking to increase the visibility of the series around the world, and most specifically in Liberty's home country, right here, the United States of America. It's worked. 3 races are based here now. F1's battling IndyCar for the second most viewed racing series in the United States of America. Again, that's behind NASCAR. One of these days, I'm going to get to one of these. But they keep opening more, so there's a chance. The F1 Arcade. It's proven to be very popular here in the U.S. The first one opened up in Boston. Then they got one in Washington, D.C. Both of them opened by April of this year. Next year, the third U.S.-based location will open up. Denver, Colorado. Okay. In their Rhino, R-I-N-O district. I didn't know there was such a thing. 2 more are planned for the United States in the near future in Philadelphia and, one would figure, Las Vegas. They should be up, they say, within the next 5 years. Plans are to have about 30 total nationwide in their about 5-year plan. The Denver location is going to cover 15,000 square feet, features 69 simulators, an outdoor terrace, an island bar, because, we like drinking and driving, along with a private room for corporate events or something similar, which is going to feature another dozen simulators in there with separate patio access. Each simulator allows the player either a fully immersive driving experience on tracks like Circuit of the Americas, Singapore's Marinas Grand Prix, by choosing up to 3 other players to go head-to-head, or you can participate in team driving in groups of 4 or more. And players can earn points and work up to different skill levels, starting off at rookie, getting up to elite. Allows for all ages to be able to race together using a personalized profile that could result in winning prizes like tickets to future F1 races. Again, seems like something Matt and I, probably producer John, would be pretty interested in.
Let's see here. Boston, Foxborough, F1 Arcade, road trip.
Yeah, like what you're thinking.
Too bad there's not a straight shot flight from Birmingham to Boston.
No. To do that, we'd have to go to Atlanta.
Hartsfield, Jackson.
Or Nashville. Either
I would
one.
rather go to Atlanta.
You think?
Unfortunately, I would rather go to Atlanta.
Okay. To the IndyCar series, where Roger Penske and his Penske Entertainment Group, who are already the owners of IndyCar and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, have furthered their venture. I find this interesting. Not only do they now own the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the Indy 500, they own the second crown jewel race in the IndyCar calendar. They are the owners of the Grand Prix of Long Beach.
We talk about NASCAR being a monopoly.
This was a one-on-one business deal between Penske and a gentleman by the name of Gerald Forsyth. Forsyth had owned half the event, but that was up until the recent passing of Kevin Kalkoven. We talked about that on this show. Forsyth then bought the outstanding shares after his passing, when reports surfaced that both Formula One and NASCAR were interested in buying that race. Then, once 100% in ownership, he then turned and picked up the phone and called Roger Penske, because he wanted to keep the race as it has long been an IndyCar centerpiece, and it will be through at least 2028. That's the final year of its current contract with the city. According to Jim McCallion, who is currently the president and CEO of the Grand Prix of Long Beach Association, the deal with Long Beach only allows for 1 3-day race weekend per calendar year. Well, if you think about it, though, there are possibilities. Because, again, it's a 3-day race weekend. So there's some curiosity. There is that curious but closer relationship between NASCAR and IndyCar that formed since Penske bought the series and its crown jewel track a few years ago. Could we get another NASCAR-IndyCar weekend, since NASCAR longs for the presence in Southern California but apparently aren't willing to get off their butts and finish the work on the, that track that they own out there? Could they go road racing on Long Beach? There's some areas there that might make it real tight. I mean, there's some hairpin turns over there that might make that difficult with the stock car.
Ooh. I'll say this. With Forsyth having it and saying what he said last year about it being a sole IndyCar event, and now Penske's got it, that door's open a little wider, for sure.
Yeah, but it's not wide open.
It's not wide open, no. But if IMSA cars can navigate Long Beach,
which we've seen, yeah.
Cup cars will find a way.
Okay, we'll see. I mean, Chicago is one thing. Long Beach is something else.
Yeah, Long Beach
there's
is
no
another animal.
hairpin on Chicago. We got 90-degree turns at Chicago, but we ain't got no hairpins in Chicago, boys and girls.
Yeah, somebody will get sent in a hairpin in a stock car.
You know it. Without a problem. Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan, and their driver, Graham Rahal, doing a pretty cool thing for troops. We'll talk about that coming up here in just a few moments. And we'll also talk about a gentleman coming in and practicing in an Indy car. It's a name you know, too, if you know a little bit about former Formula One and Formula E racers. It's next.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
never been easier. And here's the best part: free delivery and setup within 35 miles. Visit one of our 4 convenient locations in Talladega, Montgomery, Clanton, and Dadeville today. Bama Sheds. We build on-site or deliver, rent to own, no credit checks. Visit us today at BamaSheds.com.
You already know Sylacauga Marine in 18.
Indeed, we are. Final segment of this particular weekend's show, and we're talking a little IndyCar here, specifically Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing. They've announced with their driver Graham Rahal a Riding with Rahal promotion for the 2025 Indy 500 for a $50 donation on the website ridingwithrahal.com. Got to say that very carefully, otherwise it comes out sounding like Elmer Fudd. If you do it before April the 4th, give your name or the name that you choose. It will appear on the number 15 racer as they enter that famed race, assuming they qualify. All donations to the website will be used to support veterans initiatives through the Turns for Troops campaign. They're all tax deductible for the donor. Turns for Troops has been a favored cause of Rahaal's major sponsor, United Rentals, and since 2016, the company has pledged $50 per lap that Rahal runs. The effort's raised about $1 million. Another $1.5 million has been donated through other fundraising efforts. Very, very cool thing. Plus, you get your name on the car.
Pretty cool.
For $50.
That ain't bad.
IndyCar's been talking single-day evaluation testing for drivers. Porsche, Penske, IMSA champion Felipe Nasser has made the list. He'll test for Team Penske. This brings him back to his open-wheel roots. He ran the 2015 and 2016 seasons for Sauber in Formula One, back when they sucked. Oh, I'm sorry, they suck now. Then in 2019, got a test for what is now Arrow McLaren, then Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports. In 2020, he got another test with Carlin Racing, where he posted the fastest time amongst 15 drivers at Circuit of the Americas, but he just never got an IndyCar ride. He also tested one time previously for Team Penske, a test which prompted them actually to give him the ride that he's got now, an IMSA GTP ride at 2023 in Sebring. Team Penske president Tim Cindric talked to Racer.com, said, quote, although he's fully committed to our PPM sports car program, he and his F1 and open wheel backgrounds, he has always had a hand up to test whenever it's possible to be able to remain current. Can't complain there.
No.
Plus, if you need a fill-in driver, he basically probably becomes Penske's reserve driver.
Yeah.
Not a bad deal for him at all.
No.
Meantime, over at the Prima Racing Organization, they continue to finalize their 2025 plans. We told you previously that Callum Ilott was going to be their primary driver. Joining him now, 25-year-old Robert Schwartzman. He comes over to IndyCar like Prima does from the F1 ranks. He's run for the Italian-based operation in both Formula 3 and Formula 2, won the F3 title in 2019, placed second in F2 in 2021. He is a test and reserve driver for Ferrari. And right now, though, no room at the inn in Formula 1, so he's coming into IndyCar. He's the latest ex-F2 driver to decide to move to IndyCar, joins Christian Lundgaard at Arrow McLaren and Meyer Shank Racing. Plus, you got Marcus Armstrong over there, an increasing number of ex-F1 racers, drivers like Romain Grosjean, Marcus Ericsson, Alexander Rossi, Pietro Fittipaldi, among others. So here's the question. How many seats are left for the 2025 season? More than what I thought, actually. 5. For Chevrolet teams, the only 2 seats that are left are at Juncos Hollinger Racing. They haven't figured out what they're going to do for 2025 yet, which means Romain Grosjean is still on the outside looking in, despite the fact he's probably about the best driver that Juncos Hollinger Racing has had in their short history. The other 3 are Honda-powered entries. You've got 1 seat available at Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. They were the ones that wanted to expand to 3 cars. Got no driver for that 3rd car yet. And then you got the 2 seats at Dale Coyne Racing. Okay, we're waiting on that. At this time, there are only 2 drivers that are vying for the 2025 Rookie of the Year honors. The aforementioned Schwartzman and Rahal Letterman Lanigan's Lewis Foster are confirmed to be running for that honor. As for Dale Coyne Racing, he apparently is dealing with some financial problems because he is looking for a partner to shore up the financial side of the operation. He did have a partner at one time. You go all the way back to, 30 years ago. 1992 to 1999, he was partnered up with NFL Hall of Famer, the late Walter Payton, making it Payton Coyne Racing. But, of course, Walter Payton passed because of freaking cancer. So Dale Coyne, since then, has gone it alone. Coyne talked about his desire to bring on a partner, said it would be the answer to his ability to be able to hire top-tier driving talent again, back when he did with the likes of Justin Wilson, who brought the team its first win back in 2009, or Sebastian Bourdais, who was the team's last winner to date, but you got to go all the way back to 2018 for that.
Where's Ware?
Notice he's not mentioning Rick Ware.
Where's Ware? Is Ware taking all of his stuff and going to NHRA where he's actually having success?
He wasn't exactly the least successful operation in IndyCar, though. That Dale Coyne Racing with Rick Ware was, the first couple of years, not last year.
Couple of years, yeah.
Was doing pretty good. I mean, it raised our eyebrows.
Yeah, I mean, when he had Grosjean in the car, it was running real well.
Yeah.
Good grief, said that 5 times fast.
Again.
Real.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Sounding like Elma Fudd.
Yeah.
Chip Ganassi Racing has started something new, at least to IndyCar, a driver development program. Where they got that idea? It's It's going to begin. They're going to start using other teams to help develop their talent. They've signed on Kiwi Motorsport. Wonder where they're from. A competitor in the Formula Regional Americas Series, along with Pelot Motorsport. Where have we heard that name? Oh, that's right. Chip Ganassi Racing driver Alex Pelot, along with his father Ramon. Ramon runs it day to day. The intent is to add more teams to the roster in order to work up strategic partnerships across motorsports as a development pipeline to the top level of motorsports in North America. No, I didn't say that myself. From strategic partnerships across motorsports, all of that is from their statement. I couldn't make that up. They state that the goal is to allow, quote, Chip Ganassi Racing to identify talent competing with its partner teams at an earlier age and to help provide a home for drivers as they develop in the Chip Ganassi Racing ecosystem. Wow. Did we get AI? Did we get ChatGPT to help out on working up that statement?
Sounds like it.
CGR ecosystem.
Sounds like it.
Okay. I got to admit, though.
We know Chip didn't come up with that.
I got to admit, though, I'm a little surprised we haven't heard more of this kind of a driver development program in IndyCar before.
Yeah.
The fact that it took this long is a little surprising to me.
Yeah.
Formula E preseason testing. Yeah, sometimes we get some insight into what was going on. I don't know whether that's really true or not. We didn't get to talk about this last week, so this is actually a week and a half ago that all this happened. Day one of preseason testing, Antonio Felix da Costa was quickest in his Tag Heuer Porsche entry. Day two, it was Maserati's driver Jake Hughes. Day three, it was Max Gunther in his DS Penske entry at the top of the speed chart. All 3 days, the top speed was in the low 1 minute 28 second range. Should be noted that Jake Dennis was second quickest on days 1 and 2 of testing in his Avalanche Andretti. So really, it's all over the place. The final day of Formula E preseason testing, yet another team, the newly christened Kiro race team, claimed the quickest lap time around Madrid's Jarama circuit. David Beckman putting in the quickest time of all 4 days, 1 minute 27.755 seconds. The Tag Heuer Porsche twins were second and third, but unlike the first couple of days, the Avalanche Andretti pair were in the second half of the field, not anywhere near as quick as they seemed on the first couple of days of the test. And then the afternoon of the final day of testing, they held a simulation race. The winner of that race, Pascal Wehrlein, in his Tag Heuer Porsche. So maybe we look at Porsche, maybe we'll look at Avalanche Andretti, or maybe we just wait until the season begins and figure out who's quickest. Fastest lap was posted as it was in the final practice session by David Beckman in his Kiro race team entry. Again, if we take the sim race as a harbinger, 2 Tag Heuer Porsches claim first and second. Wehrlein, da Costa there. Nick Cassidy in his Jaguar was third. Jake Dennis in an Avalanche Andretti fourth. Mitch Evans in the other Jaguar was fifth. 6 through 10, Nick DeVries for Mahindra. They were all but invisible last year. The Maserati of Stoffel Van Dorn in there, or Eduardo Mortara in the other Mahindra. So 2 Mahindras in the top 10. Okay. Jake Hughes in the second Maserati. And Envision Racing claimed 10th with their driver Robin Freins. Neither of the 2 new Lola team cars finished the 24-lap event. But as it was, only 14 of the 22 cars finished all 24 laps. So there you go. I don't know how much to read into that. And then there's this to the NHRA. They're getting ready for their final weekend of the year. We're going to crown champions after this weekend. And while they still have the season finale, teams are looking ahead to 2025. For example, John Force Racing, Austin Prock, who has the inside line on this year's Funny Car title, he's got himself a new sponsor for this year. Now, why do we say he's got the inside line on this? There are only 2 drivers mathematically eligible to win the Funny Car title this year. Because you can get a maximum of 160 points throughout the course of an NHRA event, any given NHRA event. The only other driver that's within 160 points happens to be Austin Prock's teammate, John Force, who has Fast Jack Beckman driving. But in order to be able to do it, Austin Prock would effectively have to not qualify for the finals. I don't think Austin Prock's missing the final 16-car field.
No.
I think we can call Austin Prock that, but again, that's projecting without having all the votes in. You know, like every news organization did on election night. Either way, as for... Hey, let's face it. At 7 minutes and 5 seconds, every news organization on the planet called Alabama for Trump. We hadn't counted a vote, and Alabama was called for Trump because we knew. Okay? I mean, let's just face it. Longtime NHRA sponsor Cornwell Tools will be coming on board to sponsor Austin Prock Chevrolet Camaro for the entirety of 2025, which backs up their initial sponsorship of Prock for the U.S. Nationals, where they will also, by the way, continue as the official professional tools of the NHRA. So they'll be on the hood of Prock's car at the same time.
Good stuff.
Yep. Greg and Aaron Stanfield battled side by side and each other this season in the Factory X division. They're going to get the chance to do it again in 2025 because not only are they both going to do battle in Factory X, Greg, Aaron's father, has signed with Elite Motorsports, and he's going to run full-time in the Pro Stock car ranks in 2025 right next to Aaron. He'll be sponsored by the Janik Brothers Racing and the Rod Shop. And then another driver moving up as well. This one from the Factory Stock Showdown division. I could get into the whole details of the difference between Factory X and Factory Stock Showdown. Let's just say that no modifications can be done to the car in Factory Stock. Factory X allows select modifications. I'll leave it at that without going into detail.
Right.
From the Factory Stock division, going up into Pro Stock car, Stephen Bell. Stephen Bell's a 7-time winner in Factory Stock. He will also join Elite Motorsports to run on a part-time role, at least, they say, 10 races. One hitch, he hasn't gotten his Pro Stock license yet. Elite says they're going to assist him with it. He'll mark his first time behind the wheel of a Pro Stocker if he does indeed get it, which I get the funny feeling he probably will.
Oh, yeah. He will.
The NHRA has also announced that beginning with the 2025 season, they've got a new official fuel. VP Racing Fuels is signed on to take on that role in a multi-year deal. Company is celebrating their 50th year in business in 2025, will be the official nitromethane supplier for Top Fuel and Funny Car in the Mission Foods drag racing series. Their C25 racing fuel is going to power the Pro Stock Cars and Pro Stock Motorcycles division. BP is also set to supply fuel to the Flex Jet Factory Stock Showdown and Holly EFI Factory X divisions as well. What do you know about VP?
It's a good fuel. A little bit more expensive fuel, but it's a good fuel. I mean, to me, it's not any different than Sunoco. If you ask me.
All right. This is just their chance to kind of fly their own flag because it's their 50th anniversary.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Which, hey, I can't blame them for that.
Right.
And then at this weekend's season finale, got another new driver running in Top Fuel. He's one familiar to drag racing circles, though. It's Gary Pritchett. Pritchett's set to make his debut with Scrappers Racing, tuned by the noted Travis Shoemake. This is the first time he'll be behind the controls of a Nitro Top Fueler, but he finished second in the North Central Top Alcohol Regional Dragster Division points this year. He had also worked for Team Capco. He spent a dozen years with them as a crew member before he and his wife moved to Delaware so he could turn his attention to driving, joining his Sportsman Division racing wife, Jessica Eastburn. He'll have sponsorship from his own longtime partners in Hoops Fire Prevention and Spell Paving, but he also will have Shoemake's partners on the car as well in Redline Oil and the Knapp brothers on there as well. So Gary Pritchett going to be running this year.
Speaking of Knapp.
About time for you?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to be headed back to my home in Birmingham, but I'm going to make a stop real quick.
Because after last night, after burning my eyeballs out watching that on television, Netflix,
yes,
or the lack thereof, I think I'm going to catch up on a little bit of a nap before the 11 a.m. kickoffs take place.
Yeah, I decided not to watch the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight, and I put that in quotations, big bunny ears. And I said this before, I'll say it again. Mike Tyson's that known entity when it comes to the boxing world. If you can get past round number 2, you're probably going to beat him because he runs out of all of his energy after round 2. And he did.
Yeah, I don't even think he had any energy from the start.
Yeah, so, I'm not really all that surprised that Jake Paul won it because once I heard that it went 8 rounds, I went, yep, Jake Paul won. They said, yep, unanimous decision, Jake Paul wins. I'm shocked. But I'm going to make one stop on the way home because for those of you that are in and around East Central Alabama checking us out right now, come on out to Talladega. They're doing the chance for you to drive your own car on the track day today, and they're taking donations, which will go to the NASCAR Foundation, and all of these donations are going to go to hurricane relief for both Helene and Milton, which devastated North Carolina and Florida, and they still need it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, if you're out here anywhere near Talladega Superspeedway, the $50 goes to a worthy cause, and you get the chance to take your own car out there on the track. It's going to be cool. This will be the 4th time that I've done this. First time that I've done it in the GMC Terrain.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah. This is going to be interesting because
I'm not carrying nothing with a high center of gravity out there.
It's going to be interesting to see because the previous 2 vehicles I did were a 2006 Pontiac GTO and a 2012 Honda Accord. Both of them quite sporty, much lower to the ground. But hey, I've seen people in high-rise pickup trucks get out there and do it. I think we even saw an RV out there doing it one time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. GMC Terrain, I'm good. I'll be able to make it work. Can't wait to do it. I've been trying to get that car out there all year long, and I just haven't had the chance to do it. The one time I thought I was going to do it, it rained out.
Yep, I remember.
Ticked off about that. Wednesday, Cross Flags. Don't forget about it. Make sure you subscribe down below if you're on CRN Live on YouTube, and that way you get the notification every time we got a new product up, whether it is this show, the big show, the 2-hour big show here on Saturday mornings, or Cross Flags, which we'll record on Wednesday. Should show up about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, depending on when producer John can get it transferred over. Maybe a little bit later, but we get it done on Wednesdays. And we'll do it again this Wednesday. I don't know what we're talking about, but you know what? Something always comes up, and we'll bring it to you.
Figure something out.
That's right. Y'all have a great weekend. We'll talk to you on Wednesday and next Saturday right here with the Championship Racing Network. Enjoy yourselves.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.